Hey, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here to the weekend. It is the Earthmaster here, Saturday, July 20th, 2024. It's about 12:12 p.m. California time. Latest activity shows a 4.1 earthquake here into the New Zealand area, just coming in right now. One of the latest quakes here on the globe. So let's go check out the New Zealand area and see what we got going on there for today. The GeoNet servers reporting this earthquake as a 4.1 earthquake here. I'm sure quite a few folks reported feeling this earthquake. A decent earthquake, not a big one, but still a little bit above the 3 range that they've been seeing here recently in the past couple weeks. It is around the North Island area, as you can see here on the map. Quite a few folks reporting that earthquake coming in just moments ago here, North Island area, for a 4.1 magnitude earthquake here. Total tally so far about 68 reports coming in, mainly around the North Island area, with some weak to light shaking being reported there from this earthquake. About 18 kilometers deep here, and it is at a preliminary magnitude right now, so it hasn't been completely reviewed. We'll see if they update that or not. Either way, we got a little bit of movement popping off here in the last 24 hours. Quite active around the globe, getting busy out here. This is the last 24 hours. You can see a lot of deep earthquake activity out here across the region, all up and down the Pacific plate out here. So let's start off in the region south here around New Zealand. USGS not picking up on this earthquake, but the EMSC and the GeoNet servers for sure. Obviously, it's a legit earthquake striking up here across that area. All right, so overnight we did see a little bit of movement here in the quiet zone, starting to fill in slowly. Seems as though it's working its way from this direction westward. The latest quake, a 5.0 here in the Solomon Islands region, 130 kilometers deep there for that quake. Fairly deep earthquake. We've been definitely noticing a lot of deeper movement quakes out here recently. Prior to that, we did see a 4.8 around the Fiji area. That earthquake coming in this morning as well. Fairly shallow at about 10 kilometers. And quite the movement going on here across the rest of the globe. Let's check out the Japan area, where we're having quite a few 4s up here across the Kurokamachaka and down into the Izu Trench, but these are fairly shallow earthquakes here, popping off. Looks like, well, one of them's deep, 4.7, 5 o'clock this morning for a 255 kilometer deep quake. May not look like much here in the Philippines area on that map, but we got a little bit of movement here southward into the Indonesia Islands area. We are kind of noticing a splitting off here and migration of the momentum and pressure here across the Java Trench. One of the latest quakes here, 5.4, into the area just off the Sumatra region, 5.4, fairly shallow. Of course, this area has seen some very large earthquakes historically, but for now, just a 5.4 and a handful of smaller quakes out there as well. Australia, 3.4 down there. Let's see what else we got. Quite a few quakes here in the China area. Mediterranean's got some 4s and 2s out here throughout the area today. 3.6 way up on the top of the globe. Looks like around the North Pole area. See what California is doing out here today. Let's head over here to the West Coast, where it's a little bit active out here as well overnight. Let me pull up the 2.5 map and above and show you guys, mainly across Northern California here. Seen quite a few quakes here above the 2.5 threshold. The latest one, a 2.6 here around the Dollar Point underneath Lake Tahoe. We're starting to get this little swarm underneath there again. It's been a couple years since we've seen something like that. 2.8 and a 2.6. There is a fault system that runs underneath Lake Tahoe, a couple of them actually. And if I remember, it's been about, I'm wanting to say 3 years or so since we've seen that decent swarm of activity underneath this area. And then about that time we've seen a 6-pointer or so down here across the southern Nevada area. So yeah, things are getting a little bit on the amplified side out here again across the west coast. Petrolia seen a late night earthquake here, 2.6, southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone at about 16 kilometers deep there. Handful of smaller microquakes underneath this area here of Lake Tahoe. That was just the map I previously showed you was 2.5 and above. So we got a little bit of activity stirring up here underneath this area. It looks like it's maybe the Incline Village fault, or what's this other fault system here? North Tahoe fault. Let's see if I can get that to pop up. Yeah, that's, I can say there's a couple of them, and there is possibility here of seeing some larger quake activity. I remember, I'm gonna have to pull up that video here. Maybe I'll share the update from a couple years ago for the up next video. After you guys watch this update, we went into a little bit more detailed depth of what can take place out here with the earthquake activity and these fault systems here. They can get some big earthquakes, and of course, you know, there's always some concern that could create a tsunami if you get a large earthquake underneath the Lake Tahoe area. Very likely. Bay Area pretty quiet, handful of smaller quakes down into Southern California, but as I mentioned here, it looks like most of the momentum and pressure up here across the north area of the state of California. Even Yellowstone getting a little bit of movement going on today. 2.2 and a couple other smaller quakes there. Let's go check out the Yellowstone overview. And as you can see, there's a handful of quakes here, mainly around the western area of the park. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 5 or 6 earthquakes here overnight, early this morning, I should say. Not a big swarm, but definitely a little bit of uptick going on there across the Yellowstone area. And they reported a handful of quakes here. 2.2, the largest, though, being reported around this area of Yellowstone National Park. The rest of the states out here, some minimal movement across Oklahoma and Texas, around the Appalachian Mountains here. 2.2 and a 1.7 this morning. New Madrid seismic zone, pretty quiet, not a whole lot going on. There's that one earthquake, little odd earthquake up here from yesterday, 2.1, up in Maine. So definitely, you know, it's more noticeable out here today in terms of the uptick in earthquake activity. Not so much out here for the Hawaii area, though. Most of the movement here well deep underneath the Pahala area, but I do want to double check and verify that from the volcano hazard site here, where the volcano is still at a yellow and advisory. Let's see what we got here for seismograph stations. I just want to look at one of these, and man, well, I knew there was something going on. Look at that. There's still quite a bit of earthquake activity there, but not being reported. Look at all those earthquakes. Those are all earthquakes. There's probably a good 50 or 60 of them or more on this last 12 hours. All these little spikes there are localized earthquakes. Not for sure why they're not reporting them. It's a little odd. That's going to be the GPS monitoring system out here specifically for this area. There's definitely a lot of uptick going on there across the upper east rift zone. I want to check that one out. Let me check out the deformation data here real quick. Still going up here. This is the last 2 days. We did have a little bit of a dip in the inflation. Since then, we've recovered and come back up here now to the highest level observed since 2018, and it continues to go up and up and up. And with this earthquake activity that's kicking up here, let me look at another seismograph station or two. Yeah, there's a little less obvious on that map, on that seismograph station. It seems as though not quite as much on that one either. It's visible, but I believe this one down here was the main one, right? It showed a lot of earthquake activity. Look at that. So this is where the this looks like the epicenter of all these little microquakes stirring up out here across the Upper East Rift Zone, specifically in this area. And that's where, somewhere around here, I believe, is where we're going to see the next Fisher event take place. I just have a strange feeling. There's not a whole lot at the surface levels right now. Let's check out the camera view here of this area. Is it cloudy out there? Yeah, that's today's date. Correct time, 72 degrees and cloudy. Nothing going on here across the area in terms of recent or any noticeable eruption there at the surface, but keep an eye on this area. There's a lot of really brittle type of fracturing going on. Looks like, I mean, those are a lot of earthquakes there, a lot. And it's specifically within this zone right here, so we'll keep an eye on this today. Even though the USGS isn't really not showing much earthquake activity out here. Look at that. In fact, this area is only showing one in the last 24 hours. I highly doubt that. I just showed you guys the seismograph, and there's probably 50, 60 or more on that in the last 12 hours. So a lot going on specifically around this area here. The Alaska area looks a little bit quieter today. I don't see anything above 2.5 today. We do have some microquake activity up here, but not a whole lot. Just minimal movement. I wanted to go back here and check out the GeoNet server here real quick, see if they've updated that magnitude. Still sitting at a 4.1, 18 kilometers deep for that quake. Looks like a little swarm of activity in this area. You guys see that? 2.7, 2.3. There's that 4.1. Now we got a 2.2. A lot going on in that area. Let's see. These are the very small microquakes in that area, not being felt, but it's of somewhat importance because, you know, even microquake activity is still earthquake activity. And if there's a swarm going on out there, that could be a sign of maybe something bigger about ready to pop out here. Definitely got some very small microquakes in this area, 2.3, 2.7. Let's go check out the seismos here. Specifically around this area. I don't think we have anything specifically right on that region. I guess the closest one's going to be one of these stations here. But it's not, I mean, I guess it is showing some of the smaller quake activity. There's the 4-pointer, 4.1 coming in within the last half hour or so. So it looks like the magnitudes here are getting a little bit stronger, leading up to what? Maybe potentially something bigger out here. 18 kilometers deep. There's obviously quite a few fault systems out there, and that's all associated with the subduction zone that sits down here off the North Island coast. Got the Hikurangi subduction zone. Adds quite a bit of strain here across this area. There's obviously numerous fault systems and whatnot across the area, but the main player out here in terms of creating these earthquakes and faults are going to be the plate boundary right here, the Hikurangi. So continue to keep an eye on that. It definitely looks like a good decent swarm going on across North Island area for now. Let's see what we got. There's the earthquake up in China. Quite a few fours stirring up out here across the desert. This earthquake down south from last night, a little 5.2, South Sandwich Islands area. Let's take a look, see what else we got around the globe. Now they're reporting a 2.2 in this area, but I know we got a lot more earthquakes. It's crazy to see all those spikes there. And I guess, you know, it is a weekend. Maybe no one wants to get in and account for all those little small microquakes, but there's a lot. Middle America Trench over here looks quite active up into the Baja California area. Quite a few threes. There's a 4.2 over there as well. I just don't know why the USGS doesn't report for this area. Occasionally they do, but it's the weekend, so Either way, 4.2 Gulf of California, 3.2 and a 3.1 Baja California area. This activity, got to watch because it could stir things up further into Southern California here. We might get a little bit of migrational movement here across the plate boundary. For now, though, it's generally quiet. Quite a few smaller quakes, but nothing above 2.5 in this area for now. All right, let's see what else. Did I miss anything out here? Let's see. Let's check out space weather. I know we got some stuff stirring up out there as far as flares go. Got some C flare activity, even a M flare coming down from an M flare right now. Let's see what we got. A little low-grade M flare, looks like a M1.5 or so. Overnight, a couple C flares and another M flare previously. Looks like that is coming off of a far side sunspot here on the western limb here. Notice that bright feature. I know we had a few flares from 3751 here, the Earth-centered or sun-centered, Earth-centered sunspot that's currently facing the Earth. That's 3751. Now looking, well, it's bouncing back and forth. It wants to, I guess, remain in the spotlight out here. Got a new little development back here across that area. I think that's going to be a new sunspot, 3761. So a little companion there for 3751. Overall, though, I think we definitely need to keep an eye on this region. That's grown quite nicely in the last 24 hours. So we'll watch this one as it is center disk here and facing the Earth. Where that M flare activity is coming from, looks like it's off of this sunspot. A little disorganized, but there is a little intermixing, if you look really closely there, of the polarity of that magnetic structure. So these things can pop off at any time if there's enough complexity out here. As far as the auroras tonight go, they are talking about maybe seeing a G1 class storm tonight up to the KP index around 5. Just a really quick shot. Really not expecting much. This isn't going to be a huge event like we've seen back in May. In fact, this may be just your typical aurora events up there across the higher latitudes. That is, if things come in as they are expected to. So between 0 and 0300 UTC time on the 21st, that's going to be late afternoon, early evening tonight. So we'll see if that is going to get here at the right time and maybe stir up a little bit of auroras at the extreme higher latitudes. But yeah, the view line here, it's a little odd seeing that far down south. I don't think we will, but you never know. It all depends also on the BTBZ component there of the interplanetary magnetic field, which has to be in the proper position to allow this thing to kick up. No signs of any CME activity or any aurora events right now, but we'll notice it if it does come in a little bit later on this evening. Overall threat here for flaring is 55% chance for M flare, X flare around 10%, C flare at 99% chance there, and proton event up around 15%. Let's see what else we got. Anything major going on out here? So that was a couple days ago. Pretty awesome filament eruption there. All right, Storm Prediction Center out here. Not a whole lot of severe weather today. We do have a marginal risk. That's about it. Wind and maybe a little bit of hail threats out there today. No risk for tornadoes, at least less than 2%. And again, this is all just going to be thunderstorm activity. General thunderstorm activity into the light green, potential wind and some hail threats out there in the dark green, that marginal risk. Even got a little chance of some monsoonal moisture coming in, I believe, here into the Sierra Nevada mountains there of California. That hopefully doesn't spark up any new fires. We got a lot of fires going on out here right now. I just want to check out the thunderstorm Cape values today. Yeah, mainly up here in the Sierra Nevada, northern mountains here of Northern California as well. But that's all general thunderstorm activity. Hold on a second here. I'll check out the Watch Duty app here. I haven't checked out the fires in quite a while. There's a lot going on out here. A lot of fires for some reason. I know it's summertime. But, yeah, look at that. Quite a bit up into Oregon. Look at all this activity stirring up out here. All these individual spot fires all up in the heavily wooded areas of Oregon. Beautiful area. I hate seeing that region just burn up. I honestly hate seeing any regions burn up. There's really not much left to burn here in Northern California, unfortunately, but we still have a couple big ones out here in the deep mountain ranges out here where it's heavily forested. The Shelley Fire, 15,000 acres. This has been burning for quite a while. I don't know about the containment. It looks like about 21% containment here, but it's burning into these deeper areas. Hill Fire as well. There's quite a few heavily forested areas in that region. That is about 2% containment, growing quite rapidly though. 5,200 acres. And nothing around me, nothing around Chico for now. I'm hoping this holds off. Southern California, a little spotty activity down there as well. But, you know, there's anyone who looks at this map will see there's quite a lot going on out here across the west. Lots of fires and a whole bunch up here in Oregon. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, folks, I'm going to jump off here and enjoy the Saturday. I don't know. I might barbecue. I don't know. It's supposed to be 110 today, so not for sure if I want to go out and barbecue in 110-degree weather. But either way, I hope everyone enjoys their day. Keep an eye on Hawaii. You know, even though they're not showing too much earthquake activity right now, it is on the seismograph stations. The seismographs do not lie. There's quite a bit there stirring up individually here on this seismograph station. Very localized earthquake activity. A lot going on. Let me go back here and see something. Past 6 hours, past 24 hours here. Yeah, you can even see that on this one as well. So, you know, look at the USGS map. Shows about 6 earthquakes in total tally out there across the Big Island. I see more than 6, right? I'm not going to count them all, but there's maybe close to 60 or more on here. And that's probably just in the last 12 hours. Lack of data going on here. Yesterday, late last night. But, yeah. We'll keep an eye on certain regions out there. Stay safe. New Zealand rocking and rolling a little bit down there. 4.1, 3.4. Looks like another earthquake coming in. 3.4, fairly deep. Got to remember, guys, this deeper activity. There's a major subduction zone there, the Hikurangi, and we've been getting a lot of deeper activity here recently. Starting to notice some surface adjustments, and then it's going bouncing back and forth here. So uncertain on if we're going to see a big one out here or not, but always best to be prepared because that is a major player and producing a mega quake one day. It has before, and no doubt it will do it again. Stay safe out there, and we'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening unless something major happens.